Welcome to Chamber Talk, brought to you by North Orange County Chamber, where we explore the stories and insights of leaders, business owners and CEOs from various sectors who are making a difference in our community and region. Whether you're tuning in via podcast or joining us via video, we're glad to have you here. Welcome to Chamber Talk. I'm your host, Andrew Gregson, and today we're speaking with somebody well known to our Chamber family, a former Chamber Chair, former Placentia Mayor, and current candidate for the State Senate District 34, Rhonda Shader. Thanks for coming on today, Rhonda.
Thanks for having me.
Now, just a quick update. Rhonda was actually on episode 10 a couple of years ago, so we're not going to go into all the details of Rhonda, and if you'd like to know more, please go to that episode. So, Rhonda, we wanted you in today because obviously you're running for the 34 district. We work alongside Senator Omberg quite a lot. We know he's terming out, and so we wanted to hear sort of like your version, the real version of what's going on. And so I'd love to start with, why are you running for the State Senate of District 34?
Well, it really started while I was on City Council in Placentia, and I started learning how much the laws in Sacramento affect the city and how they deploy services. Sometimes those are good things, and sometimes those are really hard things. And so as I finished my time on council, I really enjoyed the work. I love adding value to people's lives in this way. And so I really think that I have some great input to take from a local level to the state level. And I would like to serve the people of North Orange County that way and add value to their lives and see if I can make things better.
Personally, I'm very lucky to have known you a little bit because of the chamber world. And right now we see a lot of things that are going on regarding transparency and trust with folks who are at these levels. What would you share with voters out there to sort of like reinforce why they can trust an individual like yourself for running in such an important position?
Fortunately, I have a record. So for 8 years, I served on Placentia City Council. And so there's a lot of information out there on me. There's a lot of meetings that were taped, and the condition of my city, how it improved, how I communicated to my constituents. As you know, I'm very strong on social media because I think that's a great, authentic way for me to communicate to people. And so I did that a lot when I was on City Council, and I've continued to stay in touch as I run for Senate. And so I feel like it gives people a chance to get to know me. The other thing that I do is anybody and everybody can have my cell phone number. And what I found is people are very respectful of it, but anyone can call me or text me anytime and let me know if they have a concern or if they have a question why I may or may have not done something. But I think what you'll find is if you watched my city council meetings, anytime I made a decision, I tried to communicate why. Where was my thinking? Who did I talk to? What was it based on? And I felt like I owed that to my constituents, especially on bigger decisions. Now, I don't know how realistic like that will be in Sacramento because there's a lot more going on. It's a different forum. But I have seen electeds do really great things like communicate via video about what's going on in Sacramento, about their position on things. And then, of course, the other great thing is the fact that you are up in Sacramento, but you also have an office down here, and you can have meetings with people. And as you know, just probably by how often you run into me, I am out there. I'm very accessible. I will probably be at the next event you're at. Yeah. So, and I do that on purpose. Right. I'm not hiding in the shadows. No. I'm out there. I'm available for people to talk to me and to approach me, to let me know how they're feeling about something. And really, I mostly get empowered about my decision making by the people, by the business owners, by the people that are in the city, by the public safety. Their stories, their concerns. That's when I know I'm on the right track. So I'm not just making up stuff. Right. I'm basing it on information coming from not just voters, but voters and people within the district that I'm representing.
Now, you mentioned a few things there, which is a great next lead into the other thing. So I've actually seen on social media your videos, and which is leading into, I want to ask you about 100 businesses, 100 days. What made you even think of that, and what are you bringing back from it?
So one of the things as a candidate is you need to communicate who you are.
Right.
And what you're about and what you would do up there.
Yeah.
So much more involved than just, why am I running? What will I do? Right. So I have a responsibility to try to communicate that. As you know, I'm a small business owner.
Yep.
I have an insurance company that I've had for many years in Placentia. It was previously in Fullerton. And so I'm a business owner. I have employees. I have the struggles. I've signed both sides of the paycheck, yada, yada. And I started realizing, if I'm not the advocate for business, who am I? Because I know what it's like. Mm-hmm. I understand the struggle of a business owner. I and the joys, the challenges, the opportunities, all of the above. Mm-hmm. And so I decided, you know what? When I get up there, I really want to move the needle for small business. I want to make it better and easier to do business in California. And so where am I going to get those answers? From the businesses themselves.
Right.
So I started this journey. Just before coming here, I met with number 80. I still have 20 more to go.
Wow.
I have a lot of requests and appointments scheduled, so I'll be wrapping it up. I'm having an event on May 15th where I'm going to roll out my 10-point business plan for small business.
Okay.
And so that was really the purpose of this, was basically to give me information as a candidate and future senator for how I can make things better for business owners. I'll be doing this in many other areas, but I started with business owners because I can relate to them.
Right.
And I understand the struggle.
Yeah.
And I've always been a fan of entrepreneurs. And it has been amazing to meet with these business owners, the information I've received. Absolutely amazing.
Would you say there's some particular recurring concerns that people have that you'd like to share? Or?
Absolutely. So I'll give you a couple sneak peeks. And I did bring my book. Here's the magic book.
Okay.
And it has
all
my interviews in here, where I'm getting all my ideas. And you can imagine that sometimes I have epiphanies with somebody, and it's a brand new thing that I haven't heard.
That, yeah.
And then a lot of times, to your point, it's something that keeps affecting people over and over and over again.
Yeah.
A couple of those things. One has been lawsuits in two key areas: ADA, American with Disabilities, and then also employment lawsuits. And these would be the type of lawsuits that, for a business owner, feel a little unfair and like a shakedown, as opposed to, I've done something wrong and I need to make it right.
Right. Okay.
And it's more of a mean-spirited lawsuit. And so it can really jar a business owner. I know they did this to insurance agents. When you get a letter or a lawsuit from an attorney, and basically they just want thousands of dollars from you to make them go away.
Right.
And I can't believe how widespread that is.
Really?
I mean, it's really widespread, from the smallest business to the biggest business.
Really?
And that frustrates me.
Yeah.
We want our friends with disabilities to be able to move about and be in life and stuff like that. But we should be able to fix those problems, not just get sued, pay money, and then it goes away. Sure. See, the problem's not getting fixed.
No, it didn't. You didn't get the ramp there, whatever you needed. Right.
And so I don't like that.
No.
I want the problem to be fixed.
Plus, the attorneys take a big, hefty sum out of that.
Right, so that the persons are served. So that being said, that's one. It's come up over and over and over again, unbelievably. The other one, and this is mostly related to our restaurants, but it really affects every business. And this is the minimum wage, how it's gone up over the last 5 years. Right. Everybody's affected by that, because even if you were paying something higher than that, the fact that that has been raised made you raise yours. And so we've got everything going up. Right. Right? And so that has been a real burden on some of our small businesses who feel like the marketplace knows what to pay people. They don't need to be told. what to pay people.
Right.
And this was sort of a forced thing. It was very fast. It's almost over. It was a 5-year process, but everybody's been affected.
Yeah.
The restaurants, like I said, mostly are fast food partners, dramatically.
Yeah.
That's why we're seeing so many changes in how we order food and what's available, how much we're paying for a simple meal today. And so we're really feeling the effects of that. So that's a couple of things. And then there's a lot of industry-specific things that are really painful. I'm in insurance. We all know insurance is a mess right now.
Right.
And so I've heard a lot about that from people. And then just a lot of generality things. But all things that gave me ideas that when I get up there, I believe that I can run bills that will move the needle in a favorable direction for our small businesses. And that's important for all of us because they provide the services, the products to our, this is the chamber. Our businesses are everything to our communities. We would have nothing without them. Yeah. And so many jobs. And then there's the jobs, because it's so difficult to have employees in California. I find that some of our smallest people are trying to avoid having employees.
Right. That's not good for the economy either, is it?
That's horrible.
Yeah, that's not good at all. No.
We're missing out on a lot when we cause that to happen. So, it's a big job. Yeah. But I think if you have someone with the right kind of mindset, voting on all those things and trying to run good common sense bills, because certainly our legislators always have reasons for what they do.
Sure.
They don't just willy-nilly put stuff out there.
Sure.
And so the question is what was the concern? Has it been addressed? Is there another way? Did it go too far? There's things that can be looked at. Yeah. And that's what I would like to get up there and do. And so this has fueled me. This has given me confidence as a candidate and potential senator to say, I know exactly what I will do. I have a path for small business and where I can make a difference for people. And of course, I've used my California pen the whole time, the California Republic pen.
That's nice. Now, you touched on something there, which we often have conversations with business members about, is you were saying all the costs of having a restaurant. Let's stay on restaurants for a moment. Of salaries have gone up, cost of food, and all the rest of it. The thing is, revenue didn't go up. So now, if you were making a profit, it's a lot less. Sometimes maybe even not. That's why you're going out of business. But there's a big knock-on effect with this as well. Is the fact that you're right now. Business owners are looking at, well, can I have an automated system, which is more to do with AI, let's say, rather than having physical staff? Well, then that causes another huge strain on us all. Do you have anything particularly to share a little bit about that topic?
What I wanted to share with you, my biggest epiphany with North Orange County, because, this Senate district runs from East and South Whittier, La Habra, Anaheim, Buena Park, Fullerton, Placentia. I said Anaheim, and then all of Santa Ana. So we're talking about pretty much all of North Orange County.
Yeah.
And I was sitting with a business owner, and then this got repeated a couple of times. It was a restaurant. And they said, look, everything's gone up. Cost of goods, cost of labor, everything's gone up. So what do you have to do? You have to raise your prices. It's got to be paid for somehow. So the consumer is going to pay for it. But what they pointed out to me is that in North Orange County, the tolerance of the consumer for how much they're going to pay is different here than it is in, let's say, Newport Beach.
Okay.
That makes total sense, right?
Total sense.
Or Irvine.
Yeah, big difference.
It's a big difference in the experience and what the people in that area are able or willing to pay.
That's correct.
And so the restaurant shared with me, the way we have to increase our prices is much different than other places. Because North Orange County, we have a particular citizenship. I mean, every area has their own kind of vibe, and we have ours. And so what that's caused is more pressure on our restaurants, because they can raise their prices, but they got to do it slow. And they got to be careful how far they go, because the people in North Orange County will just say, whoa, we'll just stay home.
Yeah.
And you don't want that either.
No.
So there's a delicate balance, I think, in North Orange County that you don't see in other areas.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that was an epiphany for me. I don't know what I can necessarily do about that.
No.
But it was just an acknowledgement of the reality of
Yeah.
this area. This is a different area
That's
than
a good
some other
point.
parts of the county. And I had a lot of other restaurants corroborate that same exact thing. So, which means they are not as profitable or not profitable while they try to ramp up in such a way that won't be so hard on
Right.
the customer.
Yeah.
Very interesting point, because I'm not in the restaurant business, so I didn't understand that.
Yeah.
Our restaurant owners probably will be like, yeah, that's true, you know? And so it takes longer potentially for them to get there.
Yeah,
and
no,
that
it
means
is.
they're going to hurt.
Yeah,
they're going to
no, it
hurt
is.
longer.
Or even close, which is
Absolutely.
That's just not really the right answer at all. That's just not it.
No, that's
If we were to get it a little bit more into core policy, the platform, you've been very vocal for about a lot of big issues, public safety, affordability, small businesses, and the homeless. I would like to be able to unpack that a little bit, so then people can know a little bit more about what's really on your radar there immediately. So if we want to start with public safety, you know a lot about this. You want to share a little bit more about that?
Yeah, in Placentia and literally the 9 cities in North Orange County that I'll represent, we all have our own police departments. There's a reason for that. In North Orange County, we have gangs. It's very common for cities to have multiple gangs. So the effort of public safety is different than other areas in the county. And that's just the reality that we deal with. So we have these wonderful police agencies that have relationships and have efforts that they do that some other departments don't have to deploy the way we do. I believe that public safety is government's absolute first and foremost job. Because if the people aren't safe, we have nothing.
Yeah.
It's almost like as an individual, if you're not healthy, you have nothing.
Right,
if you
right.
don't have
Yeah,
your health, you
that's true.
can't really
Yeah.
do anything else.
Right.
And so I believe that's number one. And so one of the, that means funding has to be there. That means the laws and the empowerment of our law enforcement have to be there. And I'm not saying that we don't keep our eye on abuses and hold our public safety accountable, but we need to let them do their jobs. And I'm saying that for firemen as well as policemen. And they have to be ready and available to meet the needs of the community. And I 110% support that. I did that in Placentia. Our public safety is amazing in Placentia. And so I'm just very proud of them, and I want to support them any way I can. And their jobs, in some ways, especially for the police, have gotten harder. And I have to say, after looking at the LA County fires and things that have gone on recently for our firemen, our firemen are struggling to do their jobs too. And so the question is how can we get rid of those roadblocks for them so that they can show up the way they want to show up and keep us all safe?
Now, you having such an understanding and experience being on council, being a city mayor, where do you feel the happy medium is between when Senate comes involved with things and where cities should, maybe take care of things themselves, or you can even work together?
Yeah, so at the state level, there are some broad overarching laws that are well in place and I can't think of all the verbiage right now, but for instance, there are rules and codes that like a police department has to follow. But sometimes those can start to get onerous to the point that they have their hands tied behind their back when they're dealing with people on the street. That has certainly happened with our homeless. That's since been resolved a little bit. And so we're kind of finding that happy medium. And, I don't fault anybody. The ebb and flow of public safety is reasonable because it's very nuanced. People have rights, for sure. But we want to try and keep a healthy balance there. The other thing I'll just bring up, I had an opportunity this week to go to the district attorney's office. they had they called it a rally, but they've had it every year, and it's basically it's a victims' rights time. So it's a ceremony where people who have had loved ones who have been murdered and victims of crime, they can have a day where they are acknowledged, that their pain is acknowledged, and that horrible loss of their loved one. And what's happening in California right now is, for instance, I had a chance to talk to this one woman, and her sister was murdered by her husband. And it's very common, domestic violence, unfortunately.
Okay. Right.
And so this happened a long time ago. It went through the court system. That husband who murdered his wife was sentenced to life in prison. But currently, there's a thought in our current legislature that people should get out of jail early, that they should get parole early. And what happened is what she was trying to explain to me is when that happens, the family is afraid. Okay,
in case something comes back to them.
Right, because there was a trial, there were things spoken.
Right.
Maybe they had kids, and the kids are afraid of the dad.
Okay.
And that whole family, when someone is released, the whole experience starts over
Coming
for
up
them,
again.
and they've termed it re-victimization. And so there's some things going on in our state that I don't agree with. I think that crime should be punished. It should be done fairly and in courts the way we do it here in America.
Right.
I like the way we do things in America.
Sure.
We can make mistakes.
Sure.
I don't deny that, but I think for the most part we get it right. And to put someone through that, and then the other thing she told me is the process happens, sometimes they're not notified. So they're not ready for that person getting out of jail, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
It's just...
What's the shock of it?
I didn't really think about that.
Well, why would we?
But that is a trend in our state, is
Wow.
to release people out of prison early, to release them from parole. And, generally I didn't like that, but I also forgot about the personal story of why was that person in jail,
Right.
who did they hurt, and who is still around that is affected by that.
Sure.
And I'm very concerned about that.
Wow.
That's not okay.
No.
Those people need to feel safe. So that's kind of like a side trip there, but it's on my mind this week because
Right.
I went there and I did have a chance to talk to some of the victims of those crimes and or the family of the victims, all ages, babies, older people, public safety officers, everybody. Nobody's immune, and it's very serious. And so, I haven't delved into that area. But you can bet I will, because just like I'm dissecting businesses right now, I plan to do that with every subject area.
Yeah.
And I already have some ideas because I was sitting there and I know what my police officers told me
Sure.
locally about things that were making their jobs harder.
Right.
That they used to be able to do, now they can't do it. The question is why, where can we meet in the middle? How can we address both needs, right?
Yeah.
Win-win,
Yeah.
like what was the issue? And so I will definitely be coming up with some ideas for that. And as a candidate, you'll see me rolling things back, not
Right.
adding to, because I think we have plenty of laws in this state.
I like that you addressed that, and it sort of like reinforces what you said at the beginning about trust, meeting with people, talking to them. Half the job is really learning about other people's experiences and then looking at it, because we can't see everything. And what you just really explained there is a part of what is supposed to happen with our legislators, isn't it? Is they
Yes.
meet with our community, they find out what's going on, and that's how laws and other bits and pieces can be amended. So I commend
Right.
you for that. That's pretty awesome.
Yeah, it's not my agenda.
No,
it's our
it's
agenda.
our agenda,
It's like,
yeah.
what do we need
Yeah.
to make life better
Yeah.
in these
Yeah.
areas? That's, if I can't go make people's lives better,
Yeah, well, what's
then
the
I'm
point?
not going to do it.
Right.
Because that was why I loved it so much on city council,
Sure.
is because I felt like I really added value to the people in my city.
Yeah.
And it's addicting.
Yeah.
It's a great way to bring value to people's lives and to make it better for them. It's so gratifying. And so I want to do more for
That's
more
great.
people.
No, it's awesome. Now, another thing it's also a topic that you talk heavily on, but it's also sort of leads into it, is, homelessness. We're not going to be able to fix it just like that.
No.
And you've had a lot of experience with, you're part of creating the home stead that they have out in Placentia, and obviously everything that goes on with Fullerton as well, and Bronner Park are dealing with it. What are your ideas for when you get to Senate?
Well, I'm very interested right now. There's some people already working on it, and that is the question that's on everybody's mind. We've thrown all this money at it, and yet here we are. And I have to say, in my opinion, it has improved.
Yeah.
I'm not going to say it's worse. It's not. I can only speak for our area where I'm at, but I think it has improved. But yet we still see some severe cases out there, and it's very painful to see those people kind of floundering around our street. It's horrible. It's to me, it's a huge lack of compassion on our part. So what I'm was starting to say is that there are audits going on.
Right.
What did we do with that money? Where did it go? And who was doing it? Because to your point, we did do the 13 North Orange County collaboration, where we had originally it was 2 shelters, one in Buena Park, one in Placentia. Fullerton, of course, has added some. We've added some resources over time. But we all got together and said, what can we do with this? Because we've got people crossing city lines. We're all so close. And what we found over time, because I stayed with it, I served on that committee. And every month I would get numbers, how many were housed, what's going on. And it makes a very big difference when you hold the people running them accountable.
Yes.
And when they're forced to give you numbers, who's running those shelters matters very much.
Right.
And the success and how the people in there are responding and becoming successful on their own. And so once you start to figure that out, there is a pattern. Now, the tough part is I always tell people, homelessness is so individualized. It's like a case-by-case basis. There's commonalities, but everybody's an individual.
Yeah.
And that's why the work is such a grind.
Sure.
Because you're working with each person to find out, what do you need to be successful,
Right.
to get you off the street. And the answer to that question is different for every single person.
Sure.
That's why we have to have lots of resources, right?
Sure.
And ideas for them to take them down the path that they need. There are a couple of ideas, and Senator Umberg actually started working on care courts. I think that's a path that we need to consider to explore. I liked his work, and he did that with the governor. I think that was good work.
Yeah.
But I think fell a little short. I think we need to go a little bit
A
deeper.
little bit
on
deeper,
that.
right.
Because there is a small percentage, and I'm not making this up.
Sure.
I actually got it from providers. The numbers I got were 5 to 7% of the homeless, and they are severest on the street, that are mentally ill in such a way that they most likely can't be rehabilitated the way you and I would think they could.
That makes sense. Right.
And if that is true, then we need to do something different for them.
Right.
And we need to give them the best quality of life that they can have.
Yeah, because what we have is not going to be able to cater for that individual.
No,
at all.
we're failing that 5 to
Right,
7%.
right.
And yet those are the ones that I think a lot of them end up on the streets in the severest of condition that we're seeing. And I don't like that.
Right.
I just think it's disrespectful. So I definitely want to work on that.
Now, leading in from that is really talking about affordability, housing, energy, food, gas, costs, things like that. I know you've been looking at a lot of those types of topics. You've been talking on them. You would like to share with the audience about what you found and what you're thinking?
Well, I think there's more work for me to do to get really specific on some things. But I have to tell you that I'm very clear on a lot of policies that California has put in place that kind of work against what the goals are.
Right.
So I would like to go up there with some common sense to say, can we clear some of that? And I think I'm seeing a little bit of that in the legislature today. We'll see how far some of these bills get, because that's all being worked out right now.
Right.
We're speaking up there. It's go time for legislation right now. And that's in terms of the Environmental Quality Act, some of those policies related to that, and how that makes our housing so unaffordable.
Mm-hmm.
And I believe there are things that we can do to change that. Now, there seems to be some openness after the fires in LA for changes in that. So I'm sitting here with my fingers crossed, and I'm watching those bills to see if they can get through.
Right.
I don't know yet.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of things we do in terms of the environment, and that add to the costs of everything for us. And I'm not saying I'm against the environment, or that I don't want to take care of the idea of climate change and those things that are going on. I do believe in that, but it's cost versus reward. And I don't know if you've heard somebody say this before, but if California was zero everything, zero emissions, zero carbon, we did all our part, which is kind of where our leadership today wants us to be, we would only solve 1% of the world's environmental issues.
Everybody's throwing everything in the sea and everything else.
Right.
Yeah, they don't care.
So I'm not saying we throw it out, but I am saying that there is a path to doing that in a more reasonable way.
Right, yeah.
Because right now, so much was done so fast, and all the expenses that to our trash, to our water, our electricity, our cars, everything is going up, and at some point it's going to explode, because I'm telling you, 99% of the people in North Orange County cannot afford an electric car, much have the infrastructure to even conduct that, and they're talking about 2035. It's just not realistic.
No, it's not.
And that frustrates me. I appreciate the looking forward, the vision casting of what could be. But the problem is that we have to deal in reality as well.
Yeah.
And there has to be a good balance of both, and that get everybody on board. And I think that's where a lot of the affordable issues come to a head. So how do we sift through that?
Right.
You know what I mean? And how do we break that down? And I have to tell you, you want good, common sense, business-friendly people up in the legislature, because they vote on 2,000 bills a year that could potentially affect your life.
Yeah.
And so we hear about 10% of those. But there's a lot of other voting going on and a lot of discussion going on up there. So you've got to have people at the table that all day, every day, all day long are voting that smart way, that better way to make things easier and better for people. And like I said, not to throw everything out, but we have so much on the books today already that we're dealing with. We just...
Yeah, where do you start? What do you do first? What do you do?
We can't add to it anymore.
No.
Because we're grappling with what to do with what we've got already. And how to answer all the questions that have already been asked. So... that I really believe. I really believe that is the affordable issue. That you can look at every single thing you say is expensive, and you can dial it back to these policies that have come in over time and been added to and added to and added to. So, some of it's just got to be dialed back. It's got to be slowed down. There's got to be some decisions made, because the people can only take so much.
You hit the nail on the head there. It's funny, we've been interviewing quite a few folks recently. Obviously some are running for Orange County Supervisor, right? And part of their concerns are the cost of living for people who live in Northern Orange County, or even Orange County. The cost of it is... It's getting so much that even if you're on a pretty well-paid job, it's really hard. You're living month to month, and that doesn't even make sense anymore. I smiled at you when you were talking about electric cars, is because I have an electric car, and I'm not a fan thinking that by 2035, is it? Yeah, that we can all go electric. Only the other day, I got really irritated, ran around for about 2 hours trying to charge my damn car. I had to go to another event. I was down to my last 15% and everywhere was full. And so I had to spend 2 hours trying to do that. Now, luckily for me, I'm able to leave my place of work and go and do that. But if I'd have been an employee, I'd have probably got let go or written up or something because I spent 2 hours just to try and get to my next meeting. And that doesn't work out. So you're totally right. And when folks talk about it, it's look how many gas stations we have for everybody driving around cars right now. You would need that many, if not more, to charge a car because it doesn't take 10 minutes. You don't pull up, fill it up, leave. It takes you a good 20 minutes. So, it's just not going to pan out. And our infrastructure everywhere is not going to do that. I mean, we get blackouts now just with using air conditioning. So what would we do if we're all charging our electric buses and trucks and things like that?
And we're on the path. We're
getting there.
I just really believe in diversity of choices.
Yeah, no, I agree.
I think people have a right to choose. And for instance, you're in a position you can choose that electric car and that works for you. And that's fantastic. Yeah. That's good news. But here's the trade-off. I drive a gas car. So I've got some responsibilities to the environment because I choose a gas car. But guess what? So do you, because you have this battery that we don't have a good idea what to do with it.
How are we going to get rid of it?
Exactly.
That's what I think about all the time.
But we're working on it.
Yeah, I know.
Okay, we're always working. We have these brilliant people in universities and in industry. And to the credit of our, current administration, the push is making people be creative. So I get that push, that kind of that tension of we've got to move in a new direction. And I don't mind that. It's just there's got to be some reasonableness around it, right? I mean, I don't think that Californians need to take the hit for the entire world. Right. And it feels sometimes like we are.
Doesn't it? Yeah.
And can we be a leader? Yeah, we are a leader.
Yeah, we are.
We are.
Well, we're the 5th largest economy in the world or something.
And that's great that we're a leader. You know what I mean? I don't mind that. But we've got to temper it. Yeah. We can't keep the push going until we just completely break our people. Yeah. That's just unfair.
Well, and the thing is everything else doesn't stop just because of that. Our tyres, which you got to go through more because the electric car is heavier. My little car is the same weight as an F-150 truck.
Oh, is it?
So it's a little car. So that means I'm going through tyres a lot more. Well, tyres don't come from electricity. They come from drilling oil, right? or the fact that, the roads, some of the cities are already struggling right now to keep the roads up. Well, if we have all these electric vehicles that are now the weight of a truck, and then what is an articulated truck? That's going to be double the weight. It's going to ruin our infrastructure. There's a lot, there's too much. Like you say, we can't just speed in and say we're going to be there. I think there's got to be a lot more looking at it. And I love the point that you mentioned about the universities, because I feel that a lot of our future leaders are learning and they understand and they really take point of all this and they're trying to figure it out of what we can do, and I believe that one day they will be able to figure it out.
Oh yeah, I've seen some brilliant presentations from like Cal Poly, stuff like that, things that people are working on to try and make this stuff work somehow, because in its current form a lot of these things just don't.
And I love the way that they're changing the curriculums because of it too. I mean, obviously because we're so local, Cal State Fullerton or Fullerton College and Cypress and what have you, they're all changing some of their curriculums because they're moving in that era, and it's very commendable that they're thinking that way in the education world, for sure. Yeah,
we got to.
So one of the other things that I wanted to touch on is, and you mentioned business, at the very beginning, but what changes do you think you could make up at Sacramento about businesses? And in particular, let's worry about our region rather than the rest of the world.
Yeah. So I do have, and you'll see when my small business plan comes out, I do have some specific things. So for instance, and I'm not, some of these are probably original, but there's also some other legislators in Sacramento thinking this way. But sometimes it takes more than one round to get something through, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So you have to garner support. So I know other people are thinking about this. For example, in the area of ADA, you could pass a law that's called right to cure. So in other words, if somebody comes and you don't have the right ADA requirements for your building, and so it makes it so they can't function. They could say something like, send you a letter and say, you've got to fix this. If you don't fix this within 120 days, like whatever the number is, then we're going to sue you.
Okay.
But the business owner has a right to make that right.
I see.
Because making it right is the most important thing.
Right.
Not getting the lawyer paid.
Right.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So it's not that I want to take away the right for someone to sue for something egregious.
Sure.
No, we've got to, keep that. But there are some steps that could come before.
Sure.
And I think that this right to cure is the spirit of ADA. The spirit of the American with Disabilities Act was to make it so someone in a wheelchair could get around, make it so blind people can get around, and be independent and have better quality lives. And you know what? We all want that.
Yeah.
We love that.
Yep.
So let's get it right for them.
Yep.
Let's make it right.
Yep.
Let's not just sue and make lawyers rich.
Well, I think another part of that is take our old building, for example, the one in Fullerton. We wouldn't have been able to put an elevator in that building.
No.
It's too old. It wouldn't have held it.
Yeah.
So we would not have really been ADA compliant if somebody was wanting that.
No, and there's some things that just should be grandfathered in.
Yeah, you can't.
And there's going to be areas. I mean, shoot, there's some areas where I can't go.
Right.
And I don't have a specific disability, right? We all have some limitations.
Sure.
So, but the broad majority of places, right, and services, we want to go and we want to do better. So, that's one example. The other one is that it used to be when a law was passed about an employee benefit or an employee right, they would say something like, employers with 50 or more employees need to do this. Then they lowered it to 25 or more employees need to do this. Then they 10, 5.
10 don't earn as much.
Now it's just everybody.
Yeah.
So you're telling me that I have 2 or 3 people working for me, and I have to do the same thing as the guy with a multi-million-dollar business with 53 employees.
Yeah, you got a case-by-case basis there for sure.
That is unfair.
Yeah.
That is just not realistic.
Yeah.
And what it's doing is it's just piling it on.
Right.
I just went through, as every business person did, you must give sick pay to every employee, whether they're part-time or not, anybody that works for you, 3 days. 3 days they get. Okay, and it was kind of like a use it or lose it thing, right? Then the next session, legislative session, they said, you know what, let's make that 5. Now this session, they're running a bill that says they're going to treat it like
Full-time.
vacation.
Yeah.
No, they're going to treat it like vacation
wow.
where we have to pay it out if they don't use it.
Oh, wow.
That's a whole nother level.
Yeah, it is.
That's keeping money on the books.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
Much less people that hire part-time to try to get around all the benefits.
Yeah.
And I don't think a part-time person expects that anyway. That's not what they're looking for. So it's just, they keep piling it on. And it's happening so rapid now. Like I said, I just watched that.
Right.
Like this. Boom, 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 boom. I was
Yeah.
like, what is going on?
Right.
That really affects me.
Yeah, it does. Yeah.
I'm little.
Yeah. No, it's crazy, isn't it?
And yet they expect me to do it just as if they expect, I don't know, the
Well, it's
largest
going back to
corporation.
your restaurant story, isn't it? It's it's you adding more onto the business owner themselves until eventually they're almost forced out of business. That's really what.
And who pays?
And
You
exactly,
and me.
who pays it?
Because
Exactly.
now we're paying $60
Right.
for 2 of us to go out to dinner.
Right.
And we used to be able to do it for 30.
Yeah.
It's ultimately it's always us that pay.
Yeah.
The consumer.
Yeah.
Because the business must survive. Businesses must be profitable. And I don't know if they've forgotten about that in Sacramento. I'm not sure what's going on up there. I'd like to get up there and see.
Is there, do you think there's got to be data, right? There's got to be data that shares the people who've left California over the last few years.
Yeah.
To put a number on it to see if it really is because people say they're leaving. Is that really true? I don't know, right? But there's got to be some data that dictates that and lets us know what the real number is to see if it really is a serious problem.
There is. It's millions.
That's crazy, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Imagine that. Because this is such a great state to live in. I mean,
who wants to leave here? It's
I didn't
beautiful.
want to leave. I came here 20 odd years ago.
This is the best place in the world.
It's amazing. It's amazing.
And we have everything we need here.
Yeah, we do.
We have so much abundance.
We do.
We have all the natural resources we need here. We have all of the water we need, all of the oil that we need.
Just needs figuring out.
We have all of the farmland that we need. We have everything we need. We have just created policies to make it scarce for our people.
Right.
And it's not necessary.
No.
We have abundance here.
Yeah.
And we should tap into that. Not abuse it, but use it.
Yeah, use it. That's right.
Sure.
Yeah, you're right. It's a lot, isn't it? It's a lot to unpack that. And we've only got a little podcast. That's crazy. So, another thing is you've served on everything from local councils to regional commissions and non-profit boards. To sharing with folks, what is your way? How do you lead? How do you bring people together? I suppose is a good question.
Well, I tell you, mostly, I think what it is that I love people. I love the individual person. Mm-hmm. I hope that when they interact with me, they feel that. And when you have someone who respects and loves the people in the room, and wants the best for everybody in the room, it tends to unite people. Mm. It tends to make people want to make things better and to work things out.
Right.
And it tends to allow for better conversation. And so I hope that that's what I bring to the table, is a standard that says people matter.
Right.
If that makes sense.
Yeah, it does.
And I know that's very kind of raw in a way.
Sure.
But that's just really what it is for me.
Yeah.
That's why when I'm running for office, I have problems with knocking on too many doors when I should be probably raising money or something else.
Right.
Because I absolutely love people.
Right.
I want to talk to them. I want them to know that.
That's awesome.
I just think every person's life matters and that they should have a good, safe, profitable, valuable, healthy life. And then whatever we do around that individual, right? I mean, that's what it's about,
Mm-hmm.
For our children, for our seniors, for everybody.
Mm-hmm.
And so when I'm serving on those boards, I mean, that's where we're starting from. Whether it's a transportation board or it's at-risk youth in Placentia, right, or it's whatever else. I've had lots of great opportunities, but the fact is that you have to think about the end user.
Right.
Who are we working for? And many times, I would keep pictures of kids in parks and things like that to remind me when it was the hardest, when you have to make difficult decisions and budgets and all of these things. Why am I doing this? Why am I doing this? It's so hard. I'm doing it for that kid that needs a park. I'm doing it so that people have nice roads to drive on.
Right.
I'm doing it because government needs to be what they need to be for people. Right? There's things that only government can do.
Yeah.
And that water has been muddied quite a bit in our society because we've added to and we've added to and we've added to, and we expect a lot out of our government today. And they're not great at everything.
No.
But there's some things that they're really good at, that they're really key at, and that we really need them for. And I like to focus on that, have government do what they are best at.
It seems like often at times we're divided, right? And bipartisan is very important. Do you feel that there's still a possibility to have a sort of like a bi-partnership within Californian politics?
I think it's what to be perfectly honest with you, my observation, absolutely, better conversation. So what it's going to take is breaking the supermajority, okay? Because if you don't have to, why take the time? You know what you want to do.
Yeah.
So I'm hopeful that there is a path in 26 at least in the Senate, which is where I'm mostly concerned with, to break that supermajority. And I said, I've asked a couple of people, will it really make a difference? Because you still have the majority. You know, you're just breaking the supermajority.
Right.
And people have told me absolutely. And so we watch that in Washington, D.C. a lot more than we do in our California legislature.
Yeah.
That push, that pull, that change, that conversation that must happen. And right now it's a little to the right.
Sure.
Before it was a little to the left.
Right.
And then we've had times where it's a little of both. And that's when I think when you're forced to talk and come up with solutions, that's where you get the best ideas, the most creative ideas. And that's where I think we will come up with the best solutions. And we haven't had to do that for so long in this state. And I'm not saying all the ideas have been bad.
Sure.
I'm just saying that there are times when there should have been more pushback.
Right.
And there couldn't be.
Right.
And so at this point, it's a numbers game. Just to be real with you.
Right.
Because why would they?
Yeah.
They don't have to.
If you don't have to, why bother, right? It's just true.
For sure.
Yeah, that's just
I
totally
don't blame
true.
them.
No, I don't either, I suppose. So as we're coming to wrap up the show, and I know you know this bit, we always want to give people an opportunity to share a little bit about something that maybe we haven't discussed, or maybe you got a final message. But just before you do, because you are on a campaign right now, I'd love for you to share a little bit about how, or tell people where they can find out more about Rhonda, even giving out your website, and if you're still prepared to give out your telephone number.
Yeah, for sure. Well, it's on all my stuff. Here's what I would like them to know is, especially since this is a North Orange County podcast, is that I feel like I have been trained up, designed, created, raised to do this for the people of North Orange County. Every single one of these 9 cities, I have some sort of connection. I either went to school there, I lived there, something.
Right.
And it blows my mind that is true.
Right.
It's crazy. I love the people here. I'm one of them. And I just think that makes for a really great leader when they really know their people. And they are one of them. And they've gone to their schools, and they've gone to their churches and their businesses and their grocery stores and things like that. And it would be such an honor to bring value to this area, to engage in a way that would just bring attention here. Because sometimes I feel like North Orange County is a little ignored. And there's so many beautiful people here and wonderful businesses, and so many great things going on. My goodness, that we should just be showcased all the time. And I would like to make that happen. But people can reach me. My website is Shader for Senate, FOR. And there's lots of information there, including my contact information. And I'm big on Facebook and Instagram at Shader for Senate. Would love you to follow me there and stay in touch. It's probably feels really early for a lot of people.
Sure, but it comes around like that.
A year and a half from now, we'll be having the primary. And so for a candidate, it's go time.
Yeah.
Like, it is happening now.
Yeah.
I thought 2 years ago I had a lot of time, and now here we are.
Yeah.
Time
So
goes
we're all
so
into
fast.
May.
Time goes so fast.
Yeah, it does.
So, but it's been great to visit with you. Always a fan of the North Orange County Chamber, and was a part of making that change from Fullerton. And so I'm just so proud of it carrying on and growing and serving and changing for the times and for what the business needs are in our area. And so you guys are doing a great job. So thank you for all you do.
You get name dropped a lot in the chamber.
Yeah.
Because a big part of what we do is regionally, and it's because of your
Yes.
thought process. So thank you for that.
Well, chambers are important.
Yeah.
Business owners are important,
They are.
and chambers are where they gather and get resources. And chambers were dying back then.
They still are a little bit.
Some are struggling still.
Yeah.
And we really believed as a board that as we looked out into the future that merging and gathering and more of a regional effort was going to be the answer. And I still really believe that. You know, our friends in Anaheim are struggling
right now.
But good news is I think some people are going to come in and save it. We can't see our chambers die. They're way too important to our cities and to our business owners. So we are always rooting for them for sure.
Oh, well, excellent.
Yes.
Well, you know, when you become senator, I'll be knocking on your door as well.
That's right.
So thank you, Rhonda, so very much for sharing time with us today, but also, to be fair, for your service to our community. We really do appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Thank you. It's my honor.
Thank you, listeners, for tuning in to Chamber Talk. Until next time, stay inspired and connected by visiting nocchamber.com and selecting sign up for news at the homepage. For more interviews, visit chambertalk.podbean.com.